amendment moved by my able colleagues. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Those in support of this amendment should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. We can go ahead and put the motion, the question. Those in support of this motion as amended should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. This motion is referred to the Committee on Works. The 12th order of the day is the consideration of the bill for an act to establish Institute of Economists of Nigeria, empowered with responsibility to determine and regulate standards of knowledge, skills, and qualification of persons seeking to become professional economists in Nigeria and for related matters. Honorable members will recall that the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Thursday, 19th October 2023. The leader will move for its consideration. Please, leader, can you move?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Usman Bello Kumo, member representing Akufedo constituency, and from Gombe State. I rise to move that this House do consider a bill for an act to establish Institute of Economic Nigeria empowered and the responsibility of determining and regulate the standard of knowledge, skills, and qualification of persons seeking to become professional economics in Nigeria and for related matters. I so move.
The minority leader, would you want to second, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My dear colleagues, I rise to second the motion as moved by my colleague as so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. The 13th order of the day is consideration of report of the ad hoc committee on the review of standing orders of the House of Representatives. Honorable members will recall that the report was laid on Tuesday, 24th October 2023. Honorable Igariwe Eno will move for its consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My highly respected colleagues, my name is Right Honorable Igariwe Iduma Enwo. I represent the good people of Afikpo and Edda Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Ebonyi State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House do consider the report of the ad hoc committee on the review of standing orders of the House of Representatives and approve the recommendations therein. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Nolim, can you second, please?
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, my name is Inolemu Naje. I'm from Enugu State. I represent in Kano East West Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the bill as moved by my colleague, Honorable Igariwe. I so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. Leader, can you move that the House resolve to the Committee of the Whole?
Usman Bello Kumo, representing Akufedo constituency from Gombe State. I rise to move that this House do resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider the report. I so move.
Leader.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the House do resolve into Committee of the Whole. I so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. House resolved to the Committee of the Whole. Thank you.
Thank you, the Ian Zhao Zhao, the Speaker of the 10th Assembly. We appreciate your speed so far in discharging some of these responsibilities, and also we appreciate the Secretariat for making light our other papers these days so that we can close early and attend to committee meetings. Let me use this opportunity to congratulate all of you who have won your elections. I know it has not been an easy walk towards victory. We appreciate you, and those who have not won, we're also in prayers with you to make sure you come back for us to continue from where they wanted us to stop. Thank you very much. The bill to be considered is for an act to establish Institute of Economics of Nigeria empowered with responsibility to determine and regulate the standard of knowledge, skills, and qualification of persons seeking to become professional economists in Nigeria and for related matters. I invite the leader to give the synopsis of the bill, in this case, the Chief Whip, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Usman Bello Kumo, member representing Akko Federal Constituency. Of course, I'm from Government State. Mr. Chair, this bill is for an act to establish the Institute of Economics of Nigeria empowered with responsibility to determine and regulate the standard of knowledge, skills, and qualifications for persons seeking to become professional economics in Nigeria. Distinguished colleagues, anything worth doing is worth doing well. A lot of people bear the name of professionals might not necessarily have the required prerequisite to be addressed as professionals, particularly economics. So I think this bill is aimed at setting standards in relation to qualification, experience, skills as parameters to see whether one is qualified to be a professional economist. It is in this light that we need to have an institution as a body to regulate and ensure whether one is qualified to bear such a professional name or not. I so submit, Mr. Chair.
Impressive, Chief Whip, to consider the fact that you just ran through the paperwork now and you were able to give such synopsis. Shows that we have a brilliant Chief Whip of the House. Thank you, Chief Whip. That was well presented. So the question is that clauses 1 to 18 stands part of the bill. And we're going to go through it one after the other. Clause 1, Clause 2, Clause 2, yes, Honorable Linda, Chinda.
Thank you, sir. It's actually 1, 2, just a slight repetition. The institute shall, to either delete shall or under ABC, we take appropriate amendments. The institute shall, if you see A says shall be a body corporate again.
Yeah, typo error.
But I think the best thing is to remove the shall up because B says may and C says may. So it's better we just say the institute, colon, A shall be a body corporate, 2, B may sue, and C may subject to the Land Use Act.
Well,
you,
the A should remain as shall,
yes, sir.
because it's compulsory.
Yes, sir. So,
But the other one is probable.
yes, sir.
So we can remove, retain B and C as may.
Under 2, just to remove the shall under 2, the institute, colon,
Under 3?
1, 2.
No, 1, 2 is taken. I mean, the amendment there is that,
3 is fine. 3 is okay.
so we are removing share from after the institute.
After the institute, yes. Sir.
And then we'll leave A as share.
Leave A, leave B, leave C.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, 1 as amended. 1 as amended.
Observation. Can I?
Let's go ahead.
Yes, please. Number 3 also has the institute shall. So I think instead of removing the institute shall at the number 2, it should be the shall after A that should be removed. The first shall here should be removed. So it should be the institute shall be a body. A should begin with be a body. That's my observation.
No, you're talking about 3. You're talking about 3. Are you talking about 2 or 3, madam?
I'm talking about 2. The institute shall, A, be a body corporate. This first shall here should be removed. B, the institute shall sue and be sued. And they removed the may now.
No, I think the first amendment was in order. 1 is compulsory. Wherever you see shall, it means must. And then may is probable, depending on what they want to go about it. All right? What's the amendment? The chairman of amendment committee, you are not properly dressed. You should borrow a tie for you to address the house. Please go and get a tie. Please get a tie for him so that he can address the house. You may sit down, please. Yeah, we are done with this number 1. So 2 has amended, 2 has not been amended. 1 has amended, carried, right? 2, 3. Amendment on 3? Yes, please. Honorable Chinedu.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there's a semantic problem in that number 3, because he said the institute shall determine the skill and knowledge to be attained by members. Attaining knowledge is limitless. So I don't know why this institute will determine.
3 words are you looking at?
3A.
3A says, which one is 3A? Is this 3-1?
3A.
You're going back to 1-3A.
Yes.
No, we have moved.
Faster one.
The gavel has gone.
Oh.
No.
Oh my God.
We're already in clause 3. We have left 1 long time ago. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, shadows. Explanatory memorandum. Long title. The report to be considered is that of the ad hoc committee on the review of standing orders of the House of Representatives. I invite Honorable Igariwe Enwo to give the synopsis of the report. Honorable Igariwe, if you are here, please.
Mr. Chairman, my very respected colleagues. Mr. Chairman, let me just say that the report we seek to consider is in the main a review of the 10th edition of the House of Representatives. Mr. Chairman, this 10th edition of our standing orders has 21 orders and 109 standing committees. Now, consequent upon our review, we still have 21 orders, but now we have a total of 140 standing committees. In other words, 31 new standing committees have been created and added to our standing orders. Mr. Chairman, I think a few important amendments and additions to our rules desire mention here. One is amendment of Order 5 by including a new rule titled Emergency Sittings of the House. Mr. Speaker, before now, this House wouldn't sit under any emergency situation, just like when we had the COVID situation. It wasn't possible, there was no rule that could have assisted this House to speak or to sit in the absence of coming to plenary and sit. But with this provision now, it means
Sorry, is everybody hearing him from there?
Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking to my phone.
You're hearing them, right?
Speaking to my phone.
Okay. Go ahead.
So the point I'm trying to make is that with this new addition to our rules, this House can sit under emergency situations. Just like I said, an example, a very good example, is what happened during the pandemic. Now, this is a rule we have in other jurisdictions. Members can sit under emergency situations, even though it is subject to Mr. Speaker being the initiator of such an emergency sitting by electronic means. Mr. Speaker, we also have touched a little bit of our very popular Order 8, Rule 4, which talks about matters of urgent public importance. We consider that Parliament intervenes a lot these days in public affairs. So instead of limiting ourselves to just 2 before we seek suspension of our rules to go to 3 or 4 or 5, as the case may be, let it be that we now have a minimum of at least 3 matters of urgent importance which we can take in a day. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, we have also done something Order 18, Rule 1, whereby the minimum number of members of a committee shall be 20, and then the maximum shall be 40. That is our new rule. Mr. Chairman, under Rule 18, Sub 1-2, we have also proposed a new rule that no member shall belong to more than 12 standing committees unless expressly authorized by the Speaker. So you can belong to more than 10, but subject to the express approval of the Speaker. Mr. Chairman, still under Order 18, Rule 1-3, we are saying that no committee chairman shall co-opt or add any member to his committee without the express approval of the Speaker. So committee chairman can go ahead and co-opt, but that should be under the express approval of the Speaker. The reason is so that we can take cognizance of such co-option, so that at the end of the day, we can say this number of people belong to this committee, this number of people belong to this committee. So it shouldn't be a situation where people just rush into a committee, maybe because they think they want to be in that committee. The Speaker has to authorize that before it is approved. Mr. Chairman, still under Order 18, we have under Order 18 created the parliamentary friendship groups. Before now, We had it in the last assembly, but it wasn't backed by our rules. But, so now we have found a position for parliamentary friendship groups in our rules. Mr. Speaker, we have also tried to, in a little way, touch the structure of the 10th edition. For example, we have compressed Rule 16 and 18 under Order 12 to one single rule. And the reason is to achieve brevity and elegance. If you go to Order 12, you will see that we have Rule 16, we have Rule 18, all of them, both of them speak about the same thing. So we decided to compress it for purposes of brevity
round up.
and elegance. Mr. Chairman, we have also proposed moving Order 7, Rule 3 on the election of Speaker pro tempore to Order 2, where we ordinarily have election of officers. Before now, the thing was staggered. So when you are talking about election of presiding officers in one section, you need to go to another section before you see election of Speaker pro tempore. So we have brought election of Speaker pro tempore to Order 2 so that they are all together. Mr. Speaker, we have also finally, we have made a careful arrangement of related committees as it relates to their interface with their various ministries during oversight and budget. Mr. Speaker, this is consistent with Order 18, Rule 6.2, which gives committees of the House, or which enjoins committees of the House to hold joint hearings and joint oversight activities where necessary to ensure efficiency and avoid overlap of responsibilities. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, on this note, I solicit the support of members as we consider this report. I so submit.
Thank you very much for that well laid out synopsis. We are going to look at the recommendation, and the question will be that the recommendations as provided in the reports stands part of the reports. We're going to call them one after the other. But while doing that, it is important to mention that because what we are going to have will be a brand new House standard rules. It will be good for us to incorporate the beginning, which were left out in the document that have been shared before you. So, clauses 1 to 4, or if you may like, order 1 to 4, in our former order, a standard order, is taken as written. Sir, I want to say something?
Mr. Chairman, you said order 1 to 4, inclusive the new
you know, order 1 to 4 is assumed to be retained. It was not published, it was supposed to be published on this presentation because we are overhauling the so I'm saying I'm moving that you consider it as retained. So order 1 to 4 is retained. Carried? Carried. That way we'll make it part of the document so that it will not be isolated. I think it makes sense, right? Good. So order 5 as amended.
Mr. Chairman, order 5, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I may not know the rationale behind this innovation of emergency sittings of the House. I believe he is talking about virtual sitting. And we must remember, how do we establish quorum in an event that we are doing a virtual sitting? And then if there is an emergency, does it mean who will preside? And where will the presiding officer reside? Is he going to reside in his house? Or is he going to reside in the chamber? It's a very technical thing. I have imagined a number of standing orders of a number of parliaments around the world during the COVID. They came out with a lot of ingenuity in how they can address some of these issues. In a case where there's an emergency and there's a restriction of movement of every person, how do we sit? I think the order should clearly define how we will do that, or the decision of the parliament can be challenged in the court of law. We have to be, it's a good innovation, but we have to define what actually do we want to achieve and how, and the process, how do we want to achieve it.
Thank you. Yes. Let's have a right of reply from Honorable Garraway on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and let me thank my colleague for raising that observation. Mr. Chairman, the purpose of this, first and foremost, is to create that possibility of this parliament not being paralyzed in the event of an emergency. That is the entire purpose of creating. Otherwise, right now, we don't even have any basis for, or any locus, or any instrument through which the House can meet under an emergency situation. What this section contemplates is a situation where it is impossible for us to meet physically, meaning we now meet virtually, as he said, or electronically. Mr. Chairman, people ordinarily, even now, 10, 20, 40, 50 people can meet by Zoom, by electronic means. It is all part of science and technology. And the second thing he said about who will preside, it is very obvious. We have stated that it is only the speaker that can convene such an emergency meeting. And Mr. Chairman, by our rules, we have the power to regulate ourselves, our proceedings. So it is Mr. Speaker in this emergency situation who is also in a position to regulate how such an emergency meeting can proceed. Thank you.
Did you look at Order 1, Rule 2, which was the first thing I did to incorporate it to this review? And the presence of Order 1, Rule 2 presupposes self-regulation, which means if there are no tradition, no practices, if it is something like this emergency that is being referred to, we can rely on Order 1, Rule 2, to call for emergency meeting in the form that is acceptable via a resolution. So that cures this Order 5 with regards to electronic. Why I'm saying so is because I foresee a situation where people will just gather somewhere and say they held a hearing and emergency meeting and impeach the speaker, impeach the deputy speaker. You understand what I'm saying? It will be abused. To manage it now will be very difficult. It will be very difficult. So I would suggest we should rely on Order 1, Rule 2 to cure the mischief that Order 5, 3, emergency sitting of the House, intends to cure with electronic outing. Gentlemen, you want to say anything there, Fulata? Because I want to raise the gavel on it, please. Because we have a lot of things to look at, so we must be very fast.
Yes, Chair. And as it is couched here, it forecloses all other options, limiting us only to electronic, to virtual meeting. It forecloses everything.
Yeah, that's another point. That's another point. Another point is that the parameters have been closed to only one optional mode of emergency meeting, which must be electronic. And that is quite restrictive. In an event where the electronic system is not effective, we will end up frustrating what we want to achieve. But the mischief that that place seeks to achieve, the cure, is very good. But we can cure it with already existing 1 sub 2. Minority Leader.
Yes, sir.
Oshoba, this is a very important section. I expect most of you who are experienced legislators to be around. You can go and come back, but please. We are forming our terms of reference in this job we came to do. This is a very important sitting, and I encourage you to stay so that you know how we came about everything that we are doing here.
Yes,
Later
sir.
on, when you
Mr.
discuss.
Chairman, thank you for yielding the floor. Because life itself is dynamic, and today we are talking about the whole world being a global village. I would not want us to completely jettison the idea of virtual meeting. We can restrict it that there are things that we can do virtually, and there are things that must be done on the floor of Parliament. The other way is to say whatever we do virtually, we can ratify it at the earliest sitting, give a specific number of period. But I agree with you that Order 1 Rule 2 covers the field. Even Order 5 Rule 6 also provides further for it. But because of the dynamism of the world generally, I think that we should include electronic sitting. It will be a plus to this Parliament, but we can add some restrictions to forestall the danger that we have looked at. That's my opinion, sir.
Electronic sitting is a very good idea because I believe in innovation, and I believe in using technology to cure, and most of you do, using technology to cure tradition to be more productive. It's obvious. But our capacity at the moment to carry it out is the issue, and the abuse attendant thereto is what I am worried about. And if we want to put it, anything that has to do with technology, I think it should be a fresh order on its own, where, like Honorable Sada Soli mentioned, the technicalities involved, the specifications on how it should be conducted, the platform to be used for it to be conducted, and not the rest of them will be well laid out, because somebody can hack the system and say, this was what you did during your online meeting, this is how many people who voted and not the rest of them. We're just playing the devil's advocate here. So if it's going to be electronic, plenary section, let's develop an entire one order where we'll specify how it should be conducted, and we will stay within the boundaries of such specification. Honorable Benson, you wanted to say something?
Thank you very much, Chairman, for yielding the floor to me. I've listened with rapt attention, and what I suggest is that for the quorum, we should look at the quorum wherein electronic emergency sittings will set in. The bar for electronic voting under this instance should be higher. That is, we should look for a quorum. We should establish a quorum. We should be maybe 2/3 of the House. Once they are present on the
So, Honorable Benson, you are talking about if we are now, discussing electronic plenary section as a subject on its own. Quorum should be one of it, and other issues. Is that what you are pointing out?
Yes, that's what I'm pointing out.
Because here it is so summarized that all those specifications as highlighted by Honorable Sada Soli, they were not laid out. And if we don't lay it out well, it might give room for abuse.
Yes.
That is what we are looking at.
Yes.
So
And that's
I
what I'm
want us, Yes, round up, please.
Okay, so I'm saying under section 3 here, it says proceedings by electronic means. And I'm saying the eligibility for electronic means, the condition precedent to using electronic means should be one, before it's kicked in, should be one that the quorum should be such that will negate any form of misrepresentation or hacking, like you said earlier. So the bar for it could kick in for the quorum should be higher than, should be a deterrent, should be something that will give it legitimacy. That's what I'm trying to say.
This is a very topical issue. We must embrace technology, but we must do so, carefully. Let me listen to 3 more people on this, and then we can rule on it. Let's hear from you, the Chief Whip of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Both submissions are very fundamental. But in my opinion, for us to be on the safer side, I want to align myself with the submission of Honorable Sare Soli. The fact that there's nothing in our rules that stops us from reviewing our rules from time to time. For us to be comfortable now, we can go ahead and expunge the proposal, adopt the proposal of SADA, then think deeply and come up with a reason and solutions that will give us comfort and make sure that we are doing things rightly and correctly. Then we can come back by way of our proceedings and we to ensure that we insert whatever we want to insert. This is my submission, Mr. Chairman, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me take one from this side. Nasuki?
Mr. Chairman, I think you have summarized it. We shouldn't be in a hurry to determine what is here for now, and I think I want to concur with your own submission. We should have our own entire different, even if it's one rule that covers comprehensive electronic, whether sitting or voting, whatever it is, let it be well stated. But for now, I think let's put this one on hold and continue with one subsection 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me hear from you, Honorable. Yes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Engineer Satami, where are you going? Are you buying?
Honorable Ambassador James Shai Barker, I present.
We need you here.
Gombe Home Federal Constituency of Adamawa State. Mr. Chairman, we should always run away from what is controversial. In the first place, this bill did not define what is emergency. We have to define what do we, say about emergency.
Speak to the mic so that others will hear you.
We have to define what we mean by emergency. Here it is not defined. Secondly, when you talk about electronic sitting, how do you come about the quorum? Thirdly, as you said, we don't have a developed infrastructure. Presently, I'm a student studying presently using electronic platform. Nigeria is not yet developed. The infrastructure is not well developed for this system.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, the best thing, let us expunge this from these rules so that we leave it as you said, or the one has taken care of this. So let us leave it as it is. Let us not introduce this.
Okay, I've taken 2 from here. One more here, then I'll come over to this place. Honorable Nole, make it brief, please. I think we are saying the same thing so that we can ask the question and go.
Well, Mr. Chairman, can you just read this thing? It said, when necessary and subject to authorization by the Speaker. Subject to authorization. So whatever happens, it will still be authorized by the Speaker. So I don't think there will be any mischief. because it will still be guided by the speaker. So I don't think all over the world we need electronic voting. All over, it's very important we leave it here. Let us not take it outside, take it away. I'm aligning myself with it on the regard because the speaker will still guide it. All the procedures, everything in our standing rule, we still, even if we have proceedings, it will still be guided by our standing rules. So I don't think that we should just take it
Let me ask you, Rule 1 sub 2,
Yes.
does it stop the speaker from calling for that kind of procedure?
I think it's also covered. Yes, I read it. Rule 1, 2. In all cases,
That is
not
the question.
provided-
If the speaker has the right, he's the boss of the house, he has the right to depend on 1 sub 2
But I think
to do anything that is in this book.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think what we are trying to do is to include electronic, I think we are trying to modernize our standing rules because this thing is being guided by, we are trying to modernize it. It's not that we cannot do without it, but it's still not, there's nothing wrong.
So it should be a subject on its own with the specifications on how this should happen.
Sir, I think we should just leave it like this, when necessary and subject to authorization.
Okay, we'll put it
by
to
the
vote.
Speaker.
Okay, we are done here. Let me hear from you, architect, first.
First, Honorable Chair, Honorable colleagues, I believe the ad hoc committee did its best to come up with the standing rule. But I'm sure it must be an oversight from the committee. Because what we are talking about has been substantially covered by Order 1, Rule 2, and I think there's no need duplicating it. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, these amendments to our own standing rule is a continuous process. I think when the time so warrant, because I know, if not, maybe when we move to the chamber, the main chamber, we could not be even able to vote electronically, physically now on the chamber, let alone organizing a Zoom meeting, dealing with the lives, dealing with the national security, dealing with the property and the country itself. I think time is not yet. We should expunge this, stand down on it, give it more time to study, and then maybe in the near future, we can revisit it. Thank you.
After that, Engineer Satomi. Honorable Sada first, then you.
Mr. Chairman, my colleague should not get me wrong. I'm in support of this innovation. What do you do with this order on the first day of the parliament sitting, where there is no speaker? What do you do? Hold on, sir, hold on. Hold on, sir. Here we say the speaker. Hold on, sir. No, until you have the speaker. If
Please speak through the chair, please.
I'm just trying.
Be guided.
You see, I'm just trying for us to think out of the box, because we said everything that the parliament does must be within the order book. Anything that we do must be within this. Where it is not provided, then we can think about the procedure, how to regulate ourselves. In a situation whereby there is a proclamation and there is an emergency in the country, how do we sit? So we should not tie ourselves with our rules, and then we continue to eat on the plate of our personal encumbrance. That's just my point. It's a good innovation, but if we can develop it and couch it in a very good manner that it will subject the rules to whatever we do, it's a good innovation. But how do we, with this,
Thank
I have
you.
some concern.
Engineer Satomi, please. Engineer Satomi, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I will align myself directly with Honorable Igariwe from the submission, we should leave it as it is, because at least since the speaker has an option to decide, there is no need for us to separate it or to expunge it now, simply because we are in a 21st century today. A lot of technological advancements. Look at the global world, the global parliamentarian system. I was feel ashamed when I was reading a news last that somebody was attacking this particular chamber, saying that he went to our archives, that he couldn't find even our record updated in our database from 2018 to date. So these are kind of the things, I think. So I think this is a first step ahead that we can also look into it and make a proper database, anything that has to do with technology, electronic, so that this house should have a proper mechanism that will improve it to in line with the global practice. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Kuje.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Ademo Ikuyesa, representing Shomolu Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I just want to help us correct the impression that members have been having on this floor concerning this Order 1. I've had so many of our colleagues mentioning Order 1, Rule 2. There is no Rule 2 under Order 1. There is only one rule. And the other one is sub Rule 2, so that we don't go out saying that there is a Rule 2 under Order 1. There is only one rule.
Of course, it's
Thank
Order
you,
1,
yes.
sub 2. Please, let me hear from Madaki, please, Honorable Madaki. And then it's final. Always introduce yourself,
Chairman,
because they are recording you, so it's good to put your name forward for those who are recording. We may not finish this work today, from what I'm saying. We'll do part of it and we'll come back again, because it needs a lot of deep diving. Clerk, wherever we finish today, rules and business, continue it tomorrow. And no other consideration should be on until we are done with it.
Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, my name is Ali Yusani Madaki, and I represent the Alapero constituency of Kano State. Mr. Chairman, I want us to be properly guided. Let's look at Order 1, Rule 1, 2. Order 1, Rule 1, 2 did not take care of what they are proposing, because let's read it very carefully. In all cases not provided for hereinafter, or by seasonal or other orders, precedent, or practices of the House shall, by resolution, it means the House has to sit and resolve. So that cannot take care of what they are trying to propose in Rule 5. So I want us just to be fully guided. Thank you, sir.
Are you saying that the House cannot regulate itself except by resolution? But what is wrong with the resolution of the House?
Mr. Chairman, the argument is that we are looking at an emergency situation where we cannot sit physically. So what happens? The Speaker, in conjunction with the clerk, can convene a virtual meeting of the House. Our rules will apply, both in terms of quorum, in terms of attendance, and the conduct of that virtual meeting. The rules will apply. Now, Order 1, Rule 1, Sub-Rule 2 provides that anything that is not provided here by resolution of the House, which resolution must mean that we must convene physically to arrive at a resolution. So if we are unable to convene, we cannot even resolve to meet electronically. That's the argument he's raising. So that electronic virtual meeting, which the Gary Waste Committee proposed, might not be achieved under Order 1, Rule 1, 2, because we must meet physically to resolve that we should hold a virtual meeting, which will defeat the entire purpose. So, sir, I still think that we should give a deep think to that proposal.
Let me hear from you, the lady.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the major problem is that the situation, emergency itself, is not defined. It's ambiguous. So maybe we are talking about a pandemic situation that is an emergency situation. We have to identify what that emergency situation is. If not, I think we should expunge it. Thank you.
These particular aspects of innovation is really innovative and transformative, but must be well developed to avoid issues. This is a good innovation, but the details of this innovation must be well developed. Because people can call emergency, define the emergency on anything. So I think the best thing to do is to put the question, whatever the House needs, we rule on it and move ahead. All right? No, we cannot speak on it again. We have to put the question now. If the House wants it, we'll keep it. If the House doesn't want it, we'll let it go. It's the decision of the House. Those in support that we leave emergency sitting of the House as prescribed in Order 5.3, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. The nays have it. But I can say, or let me point this out, that this innovation should not die. This innovation should be developed for further review. All right?
Put your question. No.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, point of order, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I guess we are already past this one because the gavel has already come down. So there are a few amendments the committee would like to make as it relates to the report we are considering. With your kind permission, I wish to make those amendments.
Is it not when we get to the particular clause? If we get to the particular clause, you can raise the amendment.
It's all right, Mr. Chairman.
It's allowed. You can also call us back if you don't hear and we pass it.
Well noted, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So 5 as amended. 5 as amended. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, what's your point of order?
The point of order here is that they want to have personal explanation. The document we have here is not numbered the way it is being called in the orders. The document circulated to us is not numbered in line with what you are calling, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, just like we did 1 to 4 as written, we are saying 9 to 11 is also written. So it means that it was not touched. It is as appeared on the former order paper. I think I'm right, Chairman of our committee. So 9 to 11 is written.
There's no amendment.
9 to 11? Which one is amended?
Amendment of order 7. In fact, the first page. Speaker pro tempore.
Page what?
Page 1.
Huh?
Page 1, page 1. The first page, Order 7 is amended to move Speaker Pro Tempore from Order 7, Rule 3 to Order 2.
Yeah, but we have said it now. 7 carried as amended.
Okay, as amended.
8 carried as amended.
I thought
9
you said
to
on
11, 9 to
7
11 retained. Huh? 7 carried as amended. 8 carried as amended. 9 to 11 retained because it was not touched by the committee. Currently, we are on 12. So you go to your page 5, huh? So order 12, carried. Order 13, order 14, order 15, 16, 17, 18. Yes, 18.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to rely on Order 20, Rule 79, 1C.
We're on 18.
Yes, just as point of order, I want to cite Order 20 to make my observation, Mr. Chairman.
Give me 18. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, relating to the standing order that we are using now, I want to cite Order 20, Rule 79, 1C. as it relates to Order 18 in the one we are considering.
Order 20 what?
Order 2079, 1C. I'm trying to relate it with what
Order 2079, what do you mean?
Order 20 Rule 79, 1.
79.
Order 20 in our standing rule 200, page 210.
Yes, what is it?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at the provision of Committee on Niger Delta Ministry.
Have we got into that?
Yes, that we are in Order 18. That's where it is now. Order 18 talks about the Committee of the House. Mr. Chairman, if I've heard you well, you are now on Order 18.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues. Mr. Chairman, Order 2079 1C talked about functions of Committee on Niger Delta. The C aspect said that the House Committee on Niger Delta Ministry shall oversight the amnesty and post-amnesty program of the federal government in the Niger Delta areas. Mr. Chairman, while looking at the one we are considering now, you will see that the committee that drafted this bill now included also, Mr. Chairman, I would call it a duplication, that the Committee on National Security Agency shall also oversight over presidential amnesty program. This is in page 24. So, Mr. Chairman, when I observed this, by the last time we shared this bill, I made an attempt to reach out to the stakeholders. I met the drafter of this, my brother, Honorable Gariwe, and some of other stakeholders, other members that were involved. I still spoke with the Chairman House Committee on National Security Agency. But we now come to observe, Mr. Chairman, by my last check, the only presidential amnesty program that was established in 2011 is the presidential amnesty program for Niger Delta areas. So when I asked and told them about it, but there's no effort, Mr. Chairman, to amend that Order 79 before we came to this. But when I asked, I was told that they were trying to be futuristic in case if it happened that there will be another MSc program in Nigeria. We have agreed, Mr. Chairman, but it's important I call the attention of the House so we can reframe it, that being futuristic, it should reframe the function of NIA on that presidential amnesty, that they can oversight any amnesty program in Nigeria, excluding that of presidential amnesty program of Niger Delta area. That's my observation, Mr. Chairman.
Is it one of the areas you wanted to amend, the chairman of ad hoc committee? Because I'm sure we have discussed this at the leadership level severally, including yesterday when you were called.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, there is no duplication at all. I think the last speaker clearly spelled out the situation. We have the Niger Delta program going on in the Niger Delta. That's why we still left it here in the rules. But we also know that amnesty is a program which government can engage in anytime. There can be amnesty for all manner of things, and amnesty essentially belongs to national security. So that is why we have also allowed presidential amnesty program to reside with the National Security Agency. So it's as clear as that. He still oversights amnesty program in the Niger Delta, but the presidential amnesty program resides with the Committee on National Security and Intelligence.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I want to come back to this. Mr. Chairman, that term, presidential amnesty program, is the acronym used to describe the establishment of the amnesty program given to the Niger Delta people. You might come tomorrow to have federal government amnesty program. You might come tomorrow to have national amnesty program. But it is going to be conflicting if this, our standing rule still carries that NIA should oversight over presidential amnesty program. It's not just a term used by the government.
Let me ask, do we have two amnesty programs under the same title?
No, Mr. Chairman.
So the presidential amnesty program refers only to that one of Niger Delta. So there's no other amnesty program.
There's no other amnesty existing in Nigeria. But if they want to be futuristic, the government might time to target another name. Yes, the presidential amnesty program established in 2011, if you check, is solely for Niger Delta area, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I remain Honorable Adedeji Stanley Olajide, representing Ibadan Northwest Southwest Federal Constituency of Oyo State. I think we have to err on the side of caution here, because anytime you're talking about presidential amnesty, there is a disarmament part of it, where you might need to retrieve arms and ammunition from the people who are part of the program. We want that to be taken over by national security, because that's a very sensitive area. So if you are running that program and you need to retrieve arms and ammunition, we do not want them in ordinary hands. We want them in the hands of people that guide the national security of Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any of you, do you have the establishment acts of that amnesty program? What did he say with regards to these arms and the security elements? What did he say? Did you look at the act establishing it?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, why I can Google to bring it out, I wish to say, Mr. Chairman, that the disarmament about presidential amnesty program happened in 2011. The amnesty program we are talking about, Mr. Chairman, has centered on 4 core issues: regeneration, education, development, and training. Mr. Chairman, in the Night Assembly, I served as Chairman House Committee on Justice. The Chief Whip is here. There was a time during the NSAS. The House then constituted a committee, made Committee on Justice the lead committee, and involved Committee on Police, where it involves that of Inspector General. Mr. Chairman, you believe with me, on this floor, that we have series of joint committees. What I am fighting against, I might be the chairman today, I won't be the chairman in the subsequent assemblies, is that of conflict. All of us are legislators, Mr. Chairman. I have the right, as it concerns me, to invite the NSA if it comes to that. We have the right to constitute a joint committee, Mr. Chairman. Okay, Mr. Chairman, let me give an instance. As Chairman Niger Delta Ministry in this house, if I have issues with IOCs, international oil companies, I have the right to invite them as it concerns Niger Delta. But I wouldn't expect the National Assembly in our rules to put that I should oversight IOCs when I know it's that of upstreams. But Mr. Chairman, to cut this debate short, I was even have been directed by Mr. Speaker, the Speaker of the House of Reps, that it should be coined to separate Niger Delta, that oversight over amnesty program, excluding that of Niger Delta area, to avoid conflicts, Mr. Chairman.
Let's hear from our senior legislator.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and Mr. Chairman, sir.
Honorable Walo.
My dear colleagues.
Please introduce yourself. They are recording you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Oluwole Oke. I am from Osun State, representing Obokun Oreade. Mr. Chairman, sir, my dear colleagues, I've been privileged to be in this house for quite some time. I've also been privileged, sir, to serve as Chairman House Committee on Defense. And I was part and parcel of the team under President Obasanjo that worked on this program, which was eventually triggered by President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. The idea, Mr. Chairman, was to save vandalization in the Niger Delta areas. That the quantum of crude oil that we lose as a result of vandalization, that if we pacify the militants in the Niger Delta area, that Nigeria will generate more revenue. When the analysis was done by professional firms, KPMG, Anderson, and all that the quantum of crude oil that we lose, the money we'll be spending on amnesty program will be far, far below what Nigeria will generate, and it worked out. What am I saying, Mr. Chairman? My position is that amnesty, it's a declaration by Mr. President. It's not as if it is governed by an act of the parliament. Even when some of us in this parliament felt that that program is being run by rule of the town, that it should be anchored by a law, so that we can really spare to letters, funds allocation, application, and all that. But the bill, unfortunately, suffered setback in the Senate. So, Mr. Chairman, sir, Mr. President, in his wisdom, now we have issues in the Northeast. We have security issues in the Northwest. We have in North Central. Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, in his wisdom powers, may decide to declare amnesty in Northwest, in Northeast, in North Central. Can we not dare say that the committee Niger Delta should go to Northwest or Northeast to go and oversight? No. So my position would be that if there are other amnesty programs, purely it will come under National Security Advisor. The location will determine who handles it. But for us to say that the amnesty program of Niger Delta should go to Committee on National Security and Intelligence, Mr. Chairman, sir, you'll be waking up troubles. So my plea is that this committee, this agency, this program, not even agency, sir, it's a program, and it has a lifespan. I mean, it has a time period for it to go off. As a matter of fact, the program should have ended. So my prayer, my submission is that we should allow the program to be where it has always been, under the House Committee on Niger Delta Affairs. I humbly submit, Mr. Chairman.
Let me hear from Honorable Satomi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I remain Engineer Satomi Ahmad, representing General Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, this issue, nobody says, to my understanding, to take over the program going on in the Niger Delta Ministry. What simply...
Sorry, let me mention, after 19, we will adjourn, because 20 will have a lot of debates on that tomorrow, okay? So just after 19, we'll adjourn. We'll have very few moments to spend here.
So as I'm speaking to you now, Mr. Chairman, there is a head of the amnesty unit in the Office of the National Security Advisor, headed by a Rear Admiral. And then the Presidential Amnesty PAP, per se, in court, mainly is a discretion of the President through the Office of the National Security Advisor. What simply I want to put here is that there is a lot of security components, particularly that has to do with disarmament, de-radicalization, demobilization, reintegration. All this aligned with the Operation Safe Corridor Initiative is a presidential term used for the National Amnesty Program. So what I'm trying to simply say is that, as BO said rightly, if you have an amnesty for bandit or for IPOP tomorrow, is it going to be under the Niger Delta Ministry? We are looking at the security component of it, the de-radicalization, the unit that presently exists under the Office of the National Security Advisor. Then for such, there must be a proper oversight, particularly that has to do with the surrender, disarmament, and demobilization. If tomorrow there is an amnesty for bandits, for Boko Haram, etc., etc., so you don't expect the Niger Delta Ministry to go and oversee such things. What we are saying is that not the Niger Delta Ministry. What we are saying is simply amnesty solely is the responsibility. The PAP is an office that do exist presently under the Office of the National Security Advisor. That's my submission.
Thank you. Since this is not a commission, there is no establishment act on it. Is it not better for someone to come with a bill later on for us to have an establishment act and see if Mr. President will assent to it? That way the mandate will be very specified, and now you can allocate agencies like the NIA as being debated by Honorable Satomi. But for now, it's a program. Let me hear from you, Leader of the House. Okay, go ahead, please. You are from Niger Delta too.
Sadly, that is not what I'm going to talk about. Francis Ejirogene, YVS my name, Ugele North, Ugele South. We were on Order 18. I got lost when we began to talk about the Niger Delta. So I've tried to read through what's on Order 18. And since we are going to stop at 20, I thought we are taking it sequentially. I may be educated if I may be guided if I'm missing.
No, once we get to Order 18, is everything on Order 18?
Yeah, but under 18, we have not gotten to the specifics of the Niger Delta Committee, of the NIA Committee. Order 18 does not seem to deal with those specifics, such that if we deal with the specifics of Order 18, 19, then we can move forward. We've spent quite some time to discuss the Niger Delta Committee itself when we are not yet there.
Honorable Osby, did you misguide the House? You were speaking about Niger Delta under 18 as if it was part of the list, state committees on 18. It's supposed to come under 20. Clark, that's a very important point that you raise, Chairman, Rules and Business. Osby. I think this year debate should come tomorrow. That debate should come. There's no Niger Delta on this 18 today. In the proposed one, unless you want to do it, is it on 19?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry about it because it's not orderly. It was not arranged sequentially. I saw 18 as membership. But Mr. Chairman, why I accept your decision to move it to tomorrow, I wish to inform the House, Mr. Chairman, at least it will guide them to prepare for this bill tomorrow. Mr. Chairman, luckily we are running a bicameral legislative system in Nigeria, where you have the House of...
Are you still speaking on this?
Mr. Chairman, I'm trying to conclude to guide my colleagues in
No. Please, we have been well directed by the Chairman, Rules and Business, and that is his job. He has pointed out that the issues you raise it too early. And it is ultra-vires what we are doing at the moment, please. So keep it where the debate has gone. You actually wasted the parliamentary time. You actually did, because I thought it was part of the list there, and as approved by the Secretariat here. Number 18, are we okay with 18? 18 is carried. 19 is retained. There is no work they did on 19. So 19 is carried, right? Carried. 20 is where we have all the committees. And if we are going to do it, we'll do it committee by committee. Very important, right? Can we do that from tomorrow? Okay, let's work till 3 o'clock and shut down 3 o'clock. So we'll take from the first list of the committee. Ethics and privilege. Ethics and privilege carried. Committee on Agricultural Production and Services.
Point of order.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, my name, Honorable Eze Nwachukwu Eze. I represent the good people of Ebonyi Federal Constituency. Mr. Chairman, I'm from Ebonyi State, and the Chairman, House Committee on Banking Institutions. Mr. Chairman, my observation is in this item connects to other...
Order what? Order what?
I say my observation in this particular item links to other committees, and it affects my own committee where I work as a chairman. In banking, in agricultural...
No, we are there. Let him finish. Let him finish.
You are protected. That's where we are. You are protected. Go ahead.
Agri production. For purposes of guide, we are in page 9. That's split over to page 10. In page 10, we have item M. Item M, Bank of Agriculture. My observation, Mr. Chairman, that I want us to address is that the Bank of Agriculture is one of the banking institutions which should come under the Committee on Banking Institutions. But I believe by omission was retained in this committee. So I want to ask the House and several other committees where the same thing repeated itself to please make the necessary...
No. Speak only on the agriculture now. Okay. Don't do an omnibus amendment. When we get there, you tell us what it is. So now you're saying Bank of Agriculture is supposed to be under banking institution.
Originally, it is Bank of Agriculture is part of the banking financial institutions as registered and recorded by the central bank.
Let's hear from the chairman ad hoc committee. Chairman, sir.
Mr. Chairman, one of the amendments we wanted to make was to make a correction, to delete an item in the Committee on Banking Institutions. And one of the item we want to delete, since he has brought it up now, let us make that application right away, is to delete development finance institutions from the Committee on Banking Institutions. The reason is that DFIs are not banking institutions. They are not banking institutions. So it found itself there in error, and we are correcting that error by deleting it completely. Most of the DFIs already exist in other committees, like what he's saying about Bank of Agriculture. He will also talk about Bank of Industry and all that, which are already in other committees. So, Mr. Speaker, my application is to delete development finance institutions from the Committee on Banking and Institutions.
But we have not gotten there yet.
The application is before you.
No, we are
That
talking about
application
Bank of Agriculture. We are saying, is Bank of Agriculture supposed to be under agriculture or banking institutions?
It is supposed to be under agriculture. And that's why we said we need to make this amendment where we will delete completely development finance institutions from banking institutions, Committee on Banking Institutions.
Yes, Jaha.
Sir, in doing these standing orders, we should equally bear at the back of our minds that some agencies in a ministry or establishment derive their budgetary provision from the same source. In other words, they are under the same ministry as per supervision. If you can pick a committee that is oversighting another ministry and picking an agency under another ministry to oversight, there will be conflict of responsibility. And in the process, you will understand that during budget defense, you realize that a lot of agencies are coming in group as a ministry, where all agencies under that ministry and committee chairmen as well as members of the committee under that ministry will converge and do the budget defense. Let me give an example with the agriculture. If you observe in agricultural ministry, that is agricultural, is it production and services, there is Bank of Agriculture. If you look at the supervising ministry for the Bank of Agriculture is the Ministry of Agriculture. It's not the CBN. It's not any of the banking regulations. So what I'm trying to say in a nutshell is its position as recommended by the committee to be in the agriculture is appropriate. That is why I say let me talk about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity once again. May I use this opportunity also to react to my friend's presentation, including the chairman himself. Banking is banking, even under agriculture. And Bank of Agriculture has no budget. It is a self-sustaining agency and registered under CBN as a development finance institution. And we are talking about banking institution here. If the purpose of creating these new committees is for proper oversight and to make sure that the legislature will do our work properly and accordingly. In law, they say election petition is sui generis. They are unique in nature. When you talk of agricultural production, it all talks about going to the farm. We are talking about the funding, the fund, how it is generated. That is not for Ministry of Agriculture. And if you go and look at the BOFIA or the Act, where these things are contained, it is clearly stated. So the angle they are coming, whether to expunge it, will amount to saying we are scraping the whole committees. Because if you remove it from there, the committee has no job. AMCON contained in that same committee is winding up, and we all know it. So it's either, if the House goes their way, the simple thing is to scrap the entire committee. Then we know that that committee is not in existence. Than naming the committee and keeping it empty. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do we say because CBN is regulating all the banks should be under CBN? Should we say because CBN is regulating all the banks, and all the banks should move under the Committee on CBN, Banking Regulations?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That question is for Eze.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your own understanding, reasoning. You've been here before me. You know how cumbersome the oversight functions has been. I never asked anybody to create a fresh committee from the CBN. On your own, you created it. You know what you have in mind. But regulations is for the CBN. But I think the management thought it right that the CBN have so much with them that it can be broken to institutions.
You know why I asked that question? Because you said banking is banking, and you are in banking institution.
That's what I'm asking.
So whether it's Bank of Industry, Bank of Health, Student Bank, all of them should come under you.
It's
as banking institution. And I asked the question, so what of the regulatory powers of the CBN? Should that make all other banks that is regulating to be under it as a committee?
Originally, it should be so, because they regulated it, they created it. And when you go to the contributions to these banks, CBN have their stake. Secondly,
okay,
Mr. Chairman, you created this committee for whatever reason known. It's not my creation. And if the committee should exist, we should do what is right.
Honorable Sada.
Mr. Chairman, fortunately, the House will always respect precedents, practice, conventions. This committee has been existing with this jurisdiction over the years. And then...
Sorry, I didn't hear you, sir.
This committee has been existing with this jurisdiction oversighting Bank of Agriculture over the years for a very long, long time, those who have history of this standing order. Mr. Speaker, Mr.
Which
Chairman,
committee in this case? Which committee?
The Agriculture and Services and Production and Services.
I've been oversighting the Bank of Industry.
Yes.
Bank of Agriculture.
Yes.
Over the years.
The order, the 6th Assembly, 7th Assembly, 8th Assembly, 9th Assembly, and the 10th Assembly. Why is Mutu? He's the oldest member here. I'm sure he can testify to that fact. Mr. Chairman, we will create some confusion because part of the jurisdiction of this committee, it says agricultural economics. That's
agricultural?
Economics.
Okay.
That's the first, the second oversight, agricultural economics. You cannot oversight agricultural economics without Bank of Agriculture. I think that is the connection.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Wala.
Raise your hand now.
I actually, those who are not here today, as parliamentarians, encourage them to come tomorrow. This is where we learn a lot. That is the truth. Both the chair and the parliament. Encourage them to come so that they will be well rooted. Because you have an interplay of experience, knowledge, playing out. So I want you to encourage them to be around tomorrow. And clerk, make the order paper tomorrow as light as possible, so that Speaker will hand over for us to do this deep diving. Well, when people are not hungry. Thank you. Honorable Wale.
Agriculture.
Thank you very much. Once again, Mr. Chairman, I remain Oluwole Oke, Ijesha North, Osun State. Mr. Chairman, while I agree with my colleague, Honorable Sarasoli, Katina, Mr. Chairman, sir, we need to actually understand where these agencies, organizations are coming from. And by provisions of our rules, vis-a-vis Legislative House's Privileges Act, Mr. Chairman, if you look at the mandate of the House Committee on Agricultural Production Services, aside the Bank of Agriculture, Mr. Chairman, you also see that you have the Nigeria Agricultural Insurance Corporations. Mr. Chairman, you need to find out the owners the shareholders of this organization, sir, you will discover that they are purely Ministry of Finance and Central Bank of Nigeria. So why over the years?
Say that again, I was distracted.
Exactly. Please. So, Mr. Chairman, for example, you have Bank of Industry. The owners of Bank of Industry is Ministry of Finance and Central Bank of Nigeria. The Bank of Agriculture is CBN and Ministry of Finance, because I've had opportunity of investigating these outfits. As a matter of fact, at a point, we took on CBN for not paying up their capital, their issued capital. So, sir, the point I'm trying to make is this. We should leave these agencies where they are. But, sir, if there are issues, bordering on insurance, for example, by provisions of Legal Services Prejudice Act, we cannot stop the House Committee on Insurance from inviting that body. If there are issues, bordering of banking issues, we cannot stop Committee on Banking from inviting Bank of Agriculture.
But the problem we have experienced is that once one committee that has maybe coordinate jurisdiction, whether less or much, extends invitation to affected agencies, the other committee will write and tell them ignore, as if they are working against each other. You see a letter coming from, so no, don't bother going, because the agency will tell the committee oversighting them and say, we have gotten a letter to the, and that is not a good parliamentary practice. Where you see the chairman of that committee now writing a letter without meeting his parliamentary brother and say, what is happening? Can we discuss it? Let's have, coordinate jurisdiction on this one. Let's have a tete-a-tete on this one. He will just go straight and write and say, don't talk to him. We are in charge. This is the practical experience, you know. What you are saying is what is supposed to be.
Yes, sir.
But in application, this one is happening.
I agree with you, sir, Mr. Chairman. But we should be guided by our rules and other extant laws and regulations. If the Committee of Banking, for example, has justifiable reasons to invite Bank of Agriculture, Mr. Chairman, sir, I see no reason why the chairman of the House Committee of Agricultural Basic Services should stop the bank from answering parliamentary summon. So it is within your court, Mr. Chairman, sir, to ensure that there is harmony, that is cooperation among the various committees of the House. Thank you.
My office will ensure that if you have any difficulty in the course of running a committee, always let us know. We'll see how we can resolve it for the good image of the committee. The chairman of the other committee want to say something, and then we'll close, because we say we are closing 3 o'clock, and we'll continue tomorrow.
Mr. Chairman, I just wish to speak to what my colleague said, which you also spoke to, which is about the need for committees to work together. If you look at virtually all the ministries, inevitably 1 or 2 committees must have business with the ministry. Now, Mr. Chairman, this situation is well captured in our rules. It's not even about appealing to members to know how to cooperate. If you go to Order 18, Rule 6, Sub 2, it clearly makes the point that committees of the House shall hold joint meetings and joint oversight activities where necessary to ensure efficiency and avoid overlap of responsibilities. It is in our rules.
How many of them are doing it?
No, what we are saying is that they should be guided.
We are not saying it's not in our books. It's in our books, but they are not complying.
Mr. Chairman, concerning what we, my very good brother said, what we are talking of is Committee on Banking. Mr. Chairman, if you go to our Committee on Banking in the rules, or that this 10th edition, which is what we are trying to amend. There is nowhere he's talking about development finance institutions. They are not anywhere here. It was this committee that decided to bring it and add to his committee, just to buffet his committee. We were the ones who thought about it. How do we help this committee on banking institutions? It was our thinking. If you go to banking institutions, you won't see it there, what we just amended now. So we now realize that some of the agencies in the DFIs actually belong to existing committees, which is why we have decided to correct ourselves by amending it, by saying it should be deleted, because it contains agencies that are already existing in other committees. So to avoid this conflict, we have decided to delete that.
Okay, we'll stop here for today's Committee of the Whole. The ruling on this will be reserved for tomorrow. We'll do further consultation on this. Leader, move that we resolve to plenary. Leader, move that we resolve to plenary, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Usman Bello Kumo, member representing Ako Federal Constituency, I rise to move that this House resolve into return to plenary to report progress. I so move.
Please, Minority Leader.
Mr. Chairman, my dear colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the House reverse to plenary. I so second.
Those in support that the House resolve to plenary say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The House is hereby resolved to plenary. Honorable colleagues, the Housing Committee of the Whole considered the reports on a bill for an act to establish Institute of Economists of Nigeria, empowered with responsibility to determine and regulate the standard of knowledge Thank you. Honorable colleagues, the Housing Committee of the Whole considered a report on the bill for an act to establish Institute of Economists of Nigeria empowered with responsibility to determine and regulate the standard of knowledge, skills, and qualification of persons seeking to become professional economists in Nigeria and related matters, and approve Clause 1 as amended, Clauses 2 to 18, the schedule, explanatory memorandum, and the long title of the bill. Honorable colleagues, the Housing Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Ad hoc Committee on the review of standing orders of the House of Representatives and approve orders 1 to 4 be retained, new order 5 sub 3 be expunged, retain order 6, approve orders 7 and 8, retain orders 9 to 11, approve order 12, retain order 13 to 17, and deferred further consideration to the next legislative date. Please, leader, move that the recommendations stand part of the report of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Usman Bello Kumo, I represent Ako Federal Constituency. I rise to move that the report of the Committee of the Whole be adopted.
Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I rise to second the motion as so moved. I so second.
Those in support that the House do adopt the reports on the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader, please move for adjournment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, Usman Bello Kumo, I represent our Federal constituency from Gombe State. I rise to move that this House do adjourn to tomorrow, 8th day of November by 11 o'clock. I so move.
Thank you. Seconded by Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion that the House do stand adjourned to tomorrow. I so second.
Thank you very much. Before I put the question, I want to appreciate all of you for staying till this time, especially the senior parliamentarians also who stayed back to make sure that the House, that we are well guided. The committee, the ad hoc committee, I appreciate the work you have done so far. We'll continue from where we stop. It's going to be a robust debate by tomorrow, so I encourage you to invite those who are not here for the purposes of learning and also for the purposes of being sure of what we expect from you, our committee, once you start working in that committee and how we came about it. So I really appreciate you. So then I ask the question, those in support that the House be adjourned to tomorrow, same time, 11 o'clock, say aye. Those against say nay. The nays will stay and the ayes will go. The House is hereby adjourned to tomorrow, same time.